Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into that feeling. You know the one. That feeling where you make one tiny little mistake and you're just convinced that the entire world is watching you and judging you for it. So, let's get right into it.
You know the scene, right? You trip on a perfectly flat bit of sidewalk, you spill some coffee on your shirt, or you say something just a little awkward in a conversation. And bam! Instantly, you feel like 1,000 eyes are on you. You're completely positive you've become the center of some very, very negative attention. Well, if that sounds even remotely familiar, you are in exactly the right place. So, what exactly is this everyone is watching feeling? Honestly, it's like being pushed onto a stage you never asked to be on, where every single move you make is being scrutinized by this massive, invisible audience. Well, believe it or not, that feeling actually has a name. It's called the spotlight effect, and it's a really well-documented cognitive bias. That's right, it's not some personal flaw or a sign of weakness, it's just a predictable and kind of funny quirk in how all of our brains are wired.
And this is a really, really important point to let sink in. This feeling, it isn't you. It's not a personal flaw. It's literally just your brain playing a clever, but let's be honest, pretty unhelpful trick on you. So how in the world does that trick even work?
Well, the root cause is something psychologists call an egocentric bias. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds a little self-centered, but it's actually a fundamental part of how we are all wired.
I mean, think about it. You experience the entire world from a first-person perspective. You are, quite literally, the main character in your own story. And because of this, our brains make this one critical but wrong assumption. They just assume we're a main character in everyone else's story too. But we're not.
And this bias, it runs deep. I mean, that bad hair day or that one comment you regret saying, it is deafeningly loud inside your own head. And because you live with it 24/7, you assume it's just as obvious to everybody else. And there's actually an evolutionary reason for this. For our ancestors, being judged by the tribe could mean being cast out, which was basically a death sentence. So our brains developed this super sensitive social alarm. The only problem is, in our modern world, that alarm is pretty much stuck on high alert.
But, okay, how do we know our fears are overblown? How can we be sure? Well, lucky for us, science gave us the perfect test, which brings us to this brilliant and frankly very memorable experiment.
So back in 1999, a psychologist named Thomas Gilovich had students wear what they all agreed was an embarrassing t-shirt. You know, think of a super cheesy pop star you'd never listen to. And then had them walk into a room full of their peers. He asked them, okay, guess how many people are going to notice? They were completely convinced their shame was obvious, predicting that at least half the room would see the shirt. But the reality was dramatically different.
And this just brilliantly illustrates that huge gap between our perception and what's actually happening. The students believed the spotlight was blinding, shining right on them, a full 50% worth of attention. But in reality, only about 25% of the observers even registered the shirt. The other 75%? They were completely oblivious, just lost in their own worlds. And here is the crucial takeaway. They overestimated the attention on them by a factor of 2. They thought twice as many people noticed as actually did. That is a massive distortion of reality, powered by our own brains.
Okay, so we know the spotlight isn't nearly as bright as we think it is. We've got the data to prove it. But how do we actually turn it off in the moment, when that anxious, mortifying feeling strikes?
The mental shift you need to make is surprisingly simple. And yeah, it requires a little bit of humility, but I promise you, once you really grasp it, it is one of the most freeing realizations you can possibly have. This right here, this is the key. That person you're worried is judging your outfit, they are completely preoccupied with their own spotlight. They're busy worrying if their joke landed or if maybe they have something in their teeth. They are the lead actor in their own movie, just like you are in yours. So here's the toolkit. First, really internalize that realization we just talked about. Second, when you feel the heat from that imaginary spotlight, actively zoom out. I mean, literally picture yourself from above. Just one person in a room full of people, and every single one of them is wrapped up in their own concerns. And third, reframe your role. In their life story, you're just a background character, just like they are in yours. And that simple fact frees you from the pressure of having to be the star.
When you truly, truly understand this, it changes everything. I mean it. The weight of that imaginary audience just lifts right off your shoulders.
And this is the ultimate takeaway. You have permission to be imperfect. You're allowed to stumble,
You're allowed to be messy and awkward. Because the truth is, most people are just far too busy worrying about their own performance to be a harsh critic of yours. The audience you're so scared of, it isn't even watching. At the end of the day, we are almost always our own worst critics. By just turning down the volume on that internal judge, you'll find that the world outside is so much more forgiving than the one you've constructed inside your own mind.
So I'm genuinely curious. We have all had a spotlight moment where we were just convinced everyone was staring, only to realize later it was all in our heads. What was yours? Go ahead and share it in the comments. Seriously, it might just help someone else feel a little less alone.
And hey, if you found this helpful, please do all the things. Like, subscribe, and maybe share this explainer with anyone in your life who might need a little reminder to step out of their own spotlight.